Kraft Mac and Cheese is better than 90s hip-hop. We'll remind you of your childhood without making you feel incredibly old. Kraft Mac and Cheese. Best thing ever.
Hi, it's Dave here. This is my wife, Kathy.
Hello.
This is the Cinemile, the podcast where we walk home from the movies. And we're double billing the movies today. It's a Barbenheimer sort of vibe.
It is. I think the last time we double billed was Barbenheimer. Today we have just watched the Super Mario Brothers with our children. Now we're going to see the drama separately for child minding reasons. And then we'll put a poll out on Instagram and see which review people want to hear first. Because these are both big movies that, I mean, Mario's huge, obviously. But the drama's been getting a lot of buzz and I'm really excited for this.
I think the marketing for this movie has been brilliant. It's one of those movies where I did watch the trailer for and I thought it was excellent. It doesn't give away what the movie's about, but it gives you an idea of what kind of movie you're going to get.
Yeah, because from the earlier marketing where they have there was a really cute photo of the two of them, almost like a Polaroid.
Brilliant poster.
They put it in last year they put it in a newspaper, like an engagement announcement, like a real
did they?
one.
That's clever.
Yeah, with the character name.
I think this is really good what they're doing.
So they've been doing cute marketing, and I do think then when I saw the trailer, it was, this is a bit of a different film than I was expecting. However, we should have guessed because Robert Pattinson is in it and he picks quite quirky movies. And I think what I find brilliant about these two leading a movie is they are two big movie stars, right?
Yeah.
I think Zendaya and Tom Holland and Timothée Chalamet occupy a very small space of Gen Z movie stars. There's not that many of them.
Sorry, just to be clear, are you saying that you're saying there aren't many Gen Z movie stars and they're
basically it.
Oh, sorry, because the way you said it made it sound like they are a small portion of the Gen Z.
No, there's a tiny part of the movie star world that is Gen Z.
Because movie stars aren't as popular anymore. It's social media influencers and other sort of celebrities take up more space. And TV, yeah.
TV, exactly. So I just find it really interesting. And he's a very well respected actor. But of course, in his heyday, he was in Twilight and he's led blockbusters. Yeah. He's also
and Batman recently.
Batman. He's been in Harry Potter. He's a big actor. He's been in big franchises.
One of my favourite actors.
I think he's brilliant.
Robert Pattinson. I think he's brilliant.
I enjoy him the older he gets. I wasn't particularly bothered by him I was never particularly bothered by the Twilight movies to begin with. But these are really big actors, and I love to see a relationship drama, kind of romantic theme.
This is the drama.
Into the cinemas, because we just don't get movies like this. So I think there's a load of buzz around it. Zendaya is amazing. I love her so much. Remember we last saw her in a big relationship drama because it was Challengers.
Movie, Challengers was amazing.
It's such a good film. So they both pick really interesting projects. They're really interesting actors. And then this director, we've heard of him before because he had brought out a film that we intended to see and didn't.
The Dream Scenario Nicolas Cage one? Yeah. That's on my list. I want to see that.
So I'm very
intrigued. Norwegian, I think.
Yeah, so I'm just intrigued by the whole thing, to be honest.
I'm so excited.
We're going out of our way to go and watch it separately now on the same day we've seen Mario because we really wanted to get this out. I said, I just don't know that I want Mario to be our review the weekend that the drama's out. Do you know what I mean?
I think you've made the right call.
Well, on Instagram people might choose Mario because I think a lot of parents are going to go and see Mario this weekend as well.
And they want to hear our thoughts to make it all worthwhile. I was sitting in the Mario Galaxy movie, just felt the thought of seeing the drama later was keeping me going. I was I cannot wait to be back here to watch the drama.
Well. It was getting me through. Okay, so we will be back after we've seen the drama.
So I want to say this thing about her laugh. You know how it's very cute, but it's also kind of
repulsive even.
All right, so before we got married, we did this thing where we said the worst thing we've ever done.
Okay. I'll tell mine if we all do it. Promise?
What did you do?
This dog.
Beer bottles and porn.
You left him there overnight.
Yeah.
What's the worst thing I've ever done?
Okay,
Are you serious?
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna order an Uber.
Emma, what the fuck?
Am I sensing some nerves? Remember, you know each other really well.
You have to stop thinking about it.
Can't just say stop thinking.
So you are thinking about it.
Oh, for fuck's sake, I am thinking about it now.
How can you even trust her?
You're being incredibly hypocritical.
I never said he was mentally disabled.
Yes, you did. You said he was slow. Emma, true love is complicated. Sorry, I was just trying to do your stupid joke thing. It's about acceptance, radical acceptance.
Why are you acting like you've never done anything bad? What the fuck was that?
I don't know.
Okay, hi, we're back. We have seen The Drama, and if it's your first time here at the cinema, we won't spoil the movie until we get to Spoiler Street. We won't even say the thing that the movie is about, because I think the marketing has done a great job of keeping the subject matter of this movie a secret, and we will do the same until, of course, we get to Spoiler Street, and you will be warned. Kathy, what are your feelings on The Drama?
It's such an interesting film, and it's such a tense film. I had a really good time with it. I was like on the edge of my seat the whole time, because like this is in the trailer. It's a couple who are about to get married, and one of them reveals a secret about themselves. And that's kind of the conceit of the film. And
Something
just,
terrible they did in the past.
yeah,
specifically.
and having a wedding hanging over you as like something really big that's happening in a few days as a couple is a really smart timer, right?
Yeah, it's a ticking time bomb.
It's a ticking time
for
bomb,
sure.
the wedding. The film style I really enjoy. The director kind of plays with memory and time, and it's a very artistic film. It has lovely sensibility. Like, they live in this bohemian apartment that, like, in reality I'm pretty sure they could never live in.
Well,
It
he
has
might-
a
he
real
seems-
like Woody Allen-esque New York feel
They
to
seem
it.
to have good jobs, though. They might,
Good jobs,
They
but,
might be
like,
well paid. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you're talking about a $5 million apartment there where they live.
Possibly.
It has like a very classic movie New York feel to it.
Yeah.
It feels lovely. It feels quite timeless, right? Could be set really any time. Zendaya and Robert Pattinson are brilliant. They've a pair who play their friends who were in on The Secret, who were amazing in the supporting cast. And yeah, I just found it a very tense film. I found it very funny at parts. I went without you, and I often found myself laughing when other people weren't laughing.
Me too. I had the same thing. I felt like, oh no, am I a weirdo, or is this movie
But
not
I was the
working on
oldest
people?
person on my screen, which I thought was interesting. Like, I was probably the only person over 22.
Really?
And I think that's because, like, it's really unusual. Like, it's often the opposite, right, in our cinema. We might be the youngest in there. So I think it's really interesting to see the younger people coming out for Zendaya and Robert Pattinson, which I love to see. And the cinema's so busy anyway because of Super Mario. So, like, it was just a really good buzz around the cinema today, which I loved. So I had a really good time. I want to talk about the twist. Like, there's been some controversy around it, which I understand. But, like, aside from the twist, there's just
I wouldn't
some great
describe it
humour.
as a twist. I don't think it's a twist.
Is
as
it?
such.
I don't know. It's a big
No,
reveal.
it's a secret.
It's a secret.
It's a secret that we yeah, but it's not a twist as such.
I guess, yeah.
I suppose maybe it is.
Of course, sort of
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
But aside from that, like, there's just like the construct of, like, as you're building up to your wedding day, if you as a couple are experiencing like large tension, and I'm sure this happens in a lot of couples, and on top of that, then you have to make really kind of trivial but important decisions like the flowers.
Yeah.
You have to organise the photographer. You're writing the wedding speeches, which is like a big construct of this film. Like, what do how you write about someone who you're thinking glowingly of versus as you think less glowingly of them. How does that change your wedding speech? Like, the construct is really cool, and there's flashbacks, and I just found the whole thing beautiful. Right, Dave, what about you?
I loved this movie. It's fantastic. Like you said, yeah, I agree with everything you said. This film is very funny. It's very tense. It is very raw. I think it's touching on... I read that there's been some controversy around this, and I read that before knowing what the subject matter was. And now that I know what it was, I can kind of see why it's clearly would be an incredibly sensitive subject for people. And I imagine, I haven't looked at what the controversy is around this, but I can imagine that perhaps people are concerned that it's treating the subject matter flippantly or providing perspectives that they don't like. But I think that's interesting. That's art at a very sore point in society, pushing, prodding, and I think that's an interesting, uncomfortable place to be. And uncomfortable is how I would describe the vibe in my cinema.
Yeah.
Like everyone is you're kind of squirming a bit.
Was it busy? Was your screen busy?
Moderately busy. I mean, I'll tell you. Like, I mean, I passed approximately 40 kids dressed as Princess Peach and Super Mario on the way to this, and then there's maybe 15 adults in the drama, and we all had this sigh of relief almost in our chairs.
And you turned
Thank
around
God.
and went, I've seen Super Mario already. Thank you very much.
What did you all make of Galaxy? I presume you went today for the drama Mia?
It's called Marvin Drama. I think.
Marvin Drama.
One of our patrons messages saying that he had double billed it as well today.
I think a
That
lot
was
of people
amazing.
did.
I don't
Sam
think
and
a lot.
Louise from the 90 Minutes or Less Film Festival podcast. We were texting
they
them.
double bill
They
it?
double billed it, yeah.
Oh my God, everyone's double billing it.
Yeah.
It is the new Barbenheimer.
But no, Robert Pattinson.
Remember when they tried to do it with Trolls and Saw? Was it
No,
Trolls?
it
and
was
Saw?
it was Saw Patrol,
Oh, Saw Patrol.
which was a good. It was a good.
That was great, except for the fact
Except
that
that nobody's going to either of those
Paw
movies.
Patrol movies are not movies. They're
Yeah,
just
exactly.
extended Paw Patrol episodes. So like, there's no kind of impetus to go and see them for anyone.
No, it's hard to manufacture Barbenheimer.
Yeah.
And
But
we're
they've done
we're
it
trying to do it here.
with Mario Ama.
They haven't. We just went to both. Right. Like Barbenheimer was a cultural
I
thing.
know, I know.
Nobody is talking about Mario drama. We can't even decide what it's called. So Robert Pattinson and Zendaya, I think, are incredibly good in this film, both of them. And the film, I think, asks a lot of them. They're both being pushed to play like it's a duality, right? You're trying to pretend that everything's okay when it's not okay, and you're trying to kind of soldier on, and you're presenting your feelings as one thing while when your inner self is in absolute turmoil.
It's
for
like
both
on
of
a
them.
micro level, many couples, ourselves included, will have been in a situation where like you've just had a big fight and then you have to like go to a party together.
Exactly right. But
And you have to like
what
be
this
cool.
what this movie is asking is what if you discovered something about a person that you thought was one thing, and it recontextualizes every single thing
Yeah.
about them that you understand to be true, and then it's got really interesting meaty. It presents really interesting like questions around how we present ourselves and how we perceive others, and how much of that is just a concoction of our own imagination.
And I mean,
and
a lot of
fantasy.
this film is outright farce as well. Which is
Yes,
why
and-
I was surprised more people were laughing in my screen when I was laughing, because like some of it was
It's
just
almost slapstick towards the
Yeah,
end. Like
yeah.
this film is more a comedy than anything else. Even though it's incredibly, I think, serious.
It's just, you know what, the director, I really want to go and watch his other movies now, because I
Same.
find this just very unique, to
very
be honest.
yes, I agree. Very
Yeah.
interesting tone. I love, as you said, I think this is proper cinema. It looked like it was shot
Beautiful,
on film.
yeah.
It was beautiful. He does very interesting. Like there's no, there's almost no like, what would you describe it like? Exposition through dialogue.
Yeah.
Everything that you learn is told through imagery and sound, and I love how.
Well, except for the beginning, which is pure exposition, because he's writing a wedding speech.
True, that is true. That is fair.
I can see why.
But the wedding speech isn't just there as a mechanism to tell you about how he feels about her. It's literally
Oh, it's very
that
clever.
wedding speech reoccurs
Yeah, it's very
as
clever.
as his feelings towards
Yeah,
her evolves,
it's a
and
great
it's the
device.
backbone of the film.
Yeah, but I can also see how, and I'd be interested to hear from our listeners, so please message us on Instagram or thecinema@gmail.com.
What
like-
would you do?
No, I feel like a lot of our listeners, I feel like someone could walk out and be like, I didn't like that film.
Yeah,
and
I
I could
think so,
I could
yeah.
also understand that point of view, and
Yes.
I would get it. Do you know what I mean?
I think
because
so.
I think it's very unique, and it could just grate people the wrong way.
I agree.
will say that, like, I think as a two-hander, Robert Pattinson and Zendaya are amazing together.
What a hot couple.
I know we'll get into it in spoilers, but I feel like she was a little underserved, and they could have used Zendaya a little bit more.
Well, it becomes more from his perspective
yeah,
as the movie goes
and
on. Yeah, that's true.
I would have welcomed her to have that as well. But I think we should go to spoilers now, because basically this film's impossible to talk about without spoilers.
I think so. Okay, well, listen, go see this film. I think it's excellent. But yeah, you may or may not like it. It's got that kind of Yorgos Lanthimos feel, where it's
Yeah,
kind of
not quite though as out there as
No,
him.
it's not as
yeah.
out there as him. But
I think
as
maybe
in,
we
like,
should go.
you'll either like this or not.
But
like
you know, it's so nice to just see like a grown-up adult relationship drama
Yeah.
represented on screen in the cinema, because it's really a genre that's been totally relegated to streamers and TV.
Agree.
So I think I love to see that.
And in a gorgeous looking way. This film
It's
looks
beautiful looking, yeah.
Oh my God.
I love how they look. I want to live in their apartment.
in a world of like Netflix romantic dramas.
Exactly, it just looks
they're
so
just-
nice, and it's not on sets, and they're legitimately walking out and about. If you are gonna go off and pause it now and go and see it, please do that. But come back next week, because it's going to be our 400th episode. We're doing a special episode. You'll see what we're doing next week, so come back for that.
Oh, we came into a secret like the drama marketing.
It's a huge secret.
Kathy's going to reveal something about herself that even I don't know, and it's going to change everything.
It's going to change everything.
Okay, we'll be back in 1 minute. You might hear a quick ad, and then we'll go to spoilers.
This episode is brought to you by Redfin. You're listening to a podcast, which means you're probably multitasking. Maybe even scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving homes without expecting to get them. But Redfin isn't just built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. With agents who close twice as many deals, when you find the one, you've got a real shot at getting it. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
Okay, here we go. Spoilers now for the movie, The Drama. So let's just talk about that dinner scene, because this is one of those. We were even speaking about this in our Patreon chat recently. I normally don't watch trailers for films, and I avoid trailers for films I'm going to see anyway.
But this came up when we were in the cinema.
Yeah, and
neither of us knew what it was about.
Well, I was going to go see it anyway because I thought the marketing was intriguing, and I think these actors.
Well,
are
honestly,
great.
just the two of them being in a film is enough to make me go.
Exactly, that was
Yeah.
it. I was gonna, but I said, do you know what? I don't think this is gonna be specifically too plot heavy. Let's watch this trailer. And the trailer has you. It hinges on this dinner scene.
Yeah, the trailer
and
is
it shows,
this dinner
yeah.
scene. So when the dinner scene started in the movie, I was like, oh!
I know. I
And
was
it
the
was
same.
so funny.
I was like, come on.
Earlier
what's she gonna
on,
say?
I once again got way too big a drink for the cinema. I had to run out to the loo, and
Oh,
because
no.
because I knew this dinner scene was so important, and I felt like they might have been building up to it. When I tell you, I ran to the toilet and ran back again, because I was like, when's the dinner scene happening? And you wouldn't normally be
Happened
waiting
pretty early as well.
really early, and
Yeah.
you wouldn't normally be waiting for such one scene in a film to come along, but you're like. Because it's told beautifully at the beginning, where you've got the meet cute and they're madly in love,
Yeah.
and he's writing the wedding speech, and I'm just cut to the chase. But I think it would have been so fun if you'd never seen the trailer and didn't know, but the marketing's
Came
been
out
too
of
heavy,
nowhere.
and you're just watching this lovely romance, and next minute this dinner scene comes. But the the idea of four people sitting around saying, what's the worst thing you've ever done? And actually they
They
said
were all
it
pretty bad.
pretty bad,
They were
yeah.
Quite bad, yeah.
Like the first guy
They do escalate.
so the first guy said, which is actually really bad, but it was so funny the way they told it, but it's terrible.
He used his old girlfriend as a human shield for a dog. It's pretty bad, yeah.
That's awful. But he's like, but she was awful on the whole trip, and he's kind of trying to defend himself. Then his girlfriend, who I actually think nearly stole the film, she's so awful.
Yes.
She's like the worst.
She's one of the sisters, the Haim sisters.
Who are the Haim sisters?
They're a musical trio. They're really good.
I was thinking I recognised her.
She was in Licorice Pizza.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
She plays such an interesting character, because she's the counterpoint, and actually she's actually the voice of the real world of why a lot of people have had issues with this film.
That's right.
But she's
I don't know what people are, how people
I'll
are
tell you,
reacting
because
to
I've
this.
been looking it
Oh,
up.
good.
Because I went first, then Dave went,
But
so
to me,
I did some research.
you said it exactly right. She's representing that
Yeah.
perspective, so I feel it's
But
present.
she's also
Anyway,
our
carry on.
antagonist. So then her secret was really bad, which is she goes into the woods with a local kid who she says is at least intellectually slow.
Yeah, or implies that he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she calls him, specifically says he's slow.
Yeah.
And then she goes to an old I don't know, mobile home that's in the middle of a woods, and locks him into it, and he's missing for at least 24 hours.
It's really bad.
That's really dark.
And could have been way worse. Yeah.
Then Robert Pattinson is kind of laughing, and they're all drunk, and they are a bit whoa. And then Robert Pattinson's like, when I was 13, I cyberbullied someone.
And we kind of breeze over this, but that's bad. He had to cyberbully the kids so bad they had to move school. That's
Well, he kind of says, when I was 13, I cyberbullied, and they're all like, oh, fuck off, when you were 13. And then he goes, but he had to move away because of it, as if he's trying to no, I was bad too.
Yeah,
but then he does say, well, or maybe his family was just moving anyway.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
Because Robert Pattinson's actually is he our age? He's a little
about
bit
our
too
age, yeah.
old to, at the age of 13, beyond like a chat room
Oh,
to have
hang
been
on,
able
you're
to do
right,
much.
yeah.
You know, it's not like he was doing what kids can do now,
Maybe
which
he's
is where they
playing-
like film each other and put each other on Snapchat and all that.
Maybe he's supposed to be 30 in this, is he?
He
bit of a
I
stretch.
don't know.
Anyway,
Anyway,
carry on.
So anyway, his one they kind of all snigger at, but he's trying to make himself seem worse than it is. And then Zendaya's one, and I was waiting because the whole scene is building up to this.
And you see her, like, we know it's coming, and you see her taking these big gulps of wine.
Yeah.
And she keeps saying it, and you can see her. What I actually thought, having seen the trailer before watching this movie, improved my experience
I think so
of
too.
this scene. Because I was watching her, and
you're
you
just
see
like-
her mentally thinking, can I say this? Should I say this?
A trailer so rarely sets a film up well. Like, I would
Yeah.
say 95% of trailers ruin the film going experience. The other 4% might be neutral. This is the 1% or less that
100%.
actually enhances, because I've come into it now with this scene and seared into my brain.
Yeah.
And I was, as Robert Pattinson was telling his story and they were all kind of sniggering, I was like, what's the worst thing she could have done?
That's the
And
thing. I was thinking, like, it can't be something.
I was like, well, she's not murdered someone.
Yeah,
And-
because then you'd instantly turn the person in or walk away. Like, it's.
But you'd also just, she wouldn't tell them if she'd either have done the time or not tell anyone.
Exactly, yeah.
So I was just sitting there, and then
I was thinking murder as well.
I was just like, what is it? And then when she says, like, I nearly did a school shooting,
Planned a school.
planned
shooting.
a school shooting.
It's like it, and it stopped. You feel it as you're watching this with the audience as well. You all feel like this, like, oh,
And
suddenly it's like,
It's so weird.
it stops. But you see them all react differently at the table, like you said. There's
Robert
a range
Pattinson just
of
kind of laughs.
reactions because they assume it's not true because it's so horrible.
And it's also
couldn't
like,
be true.
okay, like, I think he's probably thinking, oh yeah, she fantasized about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's like...
And then when the details
Yeah.
emerge over the following scenes, and he had to, I think what he did next was right. You need to now know every detail to understand how bad this was, and
But in
and
the
critically,
scene, though, in the restaurant scene,
Okay,
though, before
yeah.
we get to that,
Go on.
I think one of the reasons it flips so quickly is because Robert Pattinson and the other guy are kind of laughing a bit, or the other guy's just a bit bemused. But it's the friend who's like, my cousin was shot in a shooting, my cousin's in a wheelchair, how could you? And that friend is the voice of the audience, because after I left and you went in, I looked up the controversy, because I've seen the word controversy loads of times about this film.
Yeah.
And what it is like victims of gun violence are saying that, like,
She's
they-
being dimensionalized or empathy.
no, it's more that, like, this, you go into this film thinking you're watching a relationship drama or whatever, and that this plot could be
triggering
quite, like,
for somebody.
maybe like even emotionally unsafe for someone who's a victim of gun
Oh,
violence who doesn't
okay.
know. And like, I understand that
I actually
perspective,
can
but
see that,
I
yeah.
totally understand it. And like, we live in Ireland, like, we don't have a gun violence problem. But to that I say, okay, but this director has written a film about something that happens in America every week. You just turn on the news and you're going to see this. I don't think it's this film's responsibility to have a content warning for its own mystery. Whether or not
Okay.
he handled it sensitively, I don't know, because I'm not impacted by it.
Okay,
but
but-
I don't think this film owes anyone a content warning.
Can I
really
actually? I
don't.
didn't expect to fall down on their
Yeah.
side, but I'll actually say, it's that I see where you're coming from. But if you can choose not to look at the news, you're conscious that the news may contain things like that, and you can switch that off very quickly. If you've paid money to see a movie that you think is one thing, and it
I know.
and it confronts you with something that has personally affected you and traumatized you.
But does the
I can-
filmmaker owe that to you, though? I mean, I understand from an individual's
question.
perspective. And I do think, anyway, there won't be anyone who's a victim or tangentially related to gun violence who won't immediately know what this is now, because it's really, like, as soon as it was revealed, it's been all over the
Yeah.
internet. I will say that I in this instance, like, I'm pretty sure, like, Dave and I, whenever we're bringing the kids to something, for example, we'll go on, like, the BBFC and look up themes. I'm pretty sure if someone went and looked up the themes of this film on a classification website, it would probably say something like gun violence. I don't know, but like,
is it the responsibility? Yeah, I
like,
don't know.
If someone has a particularly triggering topic, the onus is on, I think, you as an individual to check things like classifications.
Well,
because
no, because we're in a culture where it's presented to you up front. In Netflix, it comes up at the top left.
That's
you
what
know?
I'm saying, but if you're going to the cinema,
Yeah.
you have to seek it out.
I suppose.
It's
okay.
not going to come up at the beginning of a film in the cinema. And I don't know, I find it really interesting. I'd love to hear from people with different perspectives because I totally empathise with it. But at the end of the day, this gun culture and this shooting in school is a fundamental, disgusting fabric now of American society. So why can't a film talk about it?
Yeah.
Is a film supposed to not talk about it? I understand maybe that once you get into it, you may not like how it was handled. And that's where I think the friend character, it was a really needed voice in that room. Because you needed the voice of somebody who's been, even though she was only tangentially, it's her cousin, impacted by gun violence. Because you needed someone to be like, that's not cool, that's not cool. Because I think the two lads might have just laughed it off. Because they were so, like, confused by the admission.
Well, as the movie goes on, I think it becomes clear that Robert Pattinson, he tries to laugh this off. Then
and
he
then
tries
she
to
vomits everywhere.
Yeah, there's a lot of vomiting in this movie.
But also, she's obviously so traumatized after admitting it. She's like, what have I done?
Yeah.
But the crucial part is, though, of all of it, is that she never actually shot anyone.
Oh, do you want to get into our perspectives on whether or not this is...
No, I'm just saying that, like, it's what makes it so...
Oh, that's what makes it compelling, is that...
It makes it so compelling because
it's
she
an
never...
interesting fringe
she never
case.
actually did anything.
Correct. No
So they're like-
crime has been committed.
So the friend is so
there's a lot of
angry
talk
at
about
her.
going to the police, but I don't
Yeah.
think there's any legal basis for having
And
done
there's
anything
not really...
here.
I think that was a fantasy
As far as I
sequence
know.
of hers, that they were talking about the police. I don't think that happened. I think she was imagining that was happening.
No, but there was a lot of talk of what
Yeah.
would you do? You call the police on this person in
But,
the
like,
hypotheticals. However, but like that's not what this movie is about. This movie is
No,
about.
but I know it's not what it's about, but I'm saying it's a really interesting part of it. And it does come to it later where Robert Pattinson does say, well, there's probably plenty of people walking around who wanted to do school shootings but never did them because
interesting idea.
he's British, so he's coming in here from a British perspective, and he's kind of like, there's school shootings in America all the time. There has to have been other people who've thought of doing them and not done them.
I actually
It's
thought
like in the culture.
I actually thought the movie was going to lean more into that because you've a Norwegian director and a deliberately British character
Yeah.
with these outside perspectives on this. But I feel like it didn't. I feel like and I don't feel like that's what the movie's about. The movie's not. It obviously it points at the fact that this has become a fabric of U.S. society and asks some little questions like, it asks several times, how did you even come up with this idea? And it seems to be hinting towards it's in the fabric of culture itself. So
Like she was like, I liked the aesthetics of it.
exactly. But really, to me, what the film is about is, and I think the wedding speech is critical to this, where.
He basically thinks he's almost manic pixie dream girl to her, I think.
Yes, but
and
it's
then
not.
he's like, wait, and she's so sweet and innocent, and then he's like, oh.
But it's not manic pixie dream girl as such. Maybe a little bit, but it's the movie's saying we don't really know anyone else to an extent.
Yeah.
Even the people who you're closest to. The
Because
perception.
they've only been together 2 years, so she said they got together when she was 28 and she's 30. So
The perception you have in your head of somebody is a mixture of the small subset of things you know about them, and then things that you have either assumed or intonated or projected onto them. One thing that comes up again and again is how kind she is, how empathetic she is. These are things he has written about her.
and he starts
they are
deleting
things
them
that-
from the speech.
But they are things that you assume because she's a gun control activist, which is if anyone, like, this is comedy. That's
Yeah,
comedy.
it
The
became
movie
very farcical.
That's the movie being funny, and I don't believe and I was surprised more people didn't laugh at that in my audience. But the movie's saying that we all do that with other people. We project, and her dad says in the speech she would, as a child, play characters, so we're doing it works both ways.
like she was
People
kind of
are-
cosplaying as a shooter in her own little fantasy world.
and then she was cosplaying as a gun control
Yeah.
activist. She's someone who was lost, and this is, I think, relatable. She's a teenager who
just
was
moved
lost
school.
and bullied, and
Yeah.
that is, and isolated, and so she was looking for an aesthetic, and she found she was looking for a community and an aesthetic and meaning and purpose. She went one way and then she went completely the opposite way. But anyway,
but the manosphere now, like, you know.
Yes.
If you met someone, if you meet a 30-year-old guy and he's like, I was in the manosphere when I was a teenager. Now, where this did get fucked up though was when Robert Pattinson's trying to figure out how far she went, and turns out she went as far as to have the gun in her bag,
and would have done it if there hadn't been. And that's important
except
context.
That they were like, another shooting just happened in the mall.
And that is.
And so actually, she went, like, it's not just like, oh, she didn't do it, and she still didn't do it. No crime was committed, but she got like. She had a gun in her bag at school, like.
And that's why the more he explores the context, the more it's like, I don't know this person.
Yeah, exactly, because I think he initially thought, oh yeah, she planned it, but like, you know, only in her head.
But what's interesting is that he then starts to invent his own narrative to make himself more comfortable. He knows he has to marry this woman in a few days.
Yeah.
He wants the version of her back. He's trying to create some fantasy compromise or understanding that will allow him to be comfortable with this. So he's like, oh, well, you've been traumatized. Do you remember that? Do you remember you said your friend died at 10 in a car accident?
And she's like, my friend.
Well, like, whatever, that was nothing to me. But then the next scene we see him say to the friends, you know, well, actually, she saw, you know, he's projecting to them the reason. he creates a fantasy to them for the reason why it's actually okay. And so that's what the movie's really getting at, is that we all play characters. You know, we present ourselves to other people in a certain way that we feel comfortable with, and we're perceived differently.
Yeah.
And when you actually like,
and he starts remembering a scene where a taxi cut in front of them in a crosswalk. And she's like,
I love this.
Watch where you were going. And she starts screaming at the taxi driver, which at the time he probably thought was really cute, and now he's like terrified.
He's recontextualizing exactly every single moment they've had together is now viewed through a different lens. So it is inherently just truth. This fundamental this fundamental truth about somebody completely deconstructed a fantasy.
Yeah.
And then the movie at the very end is, I think, very cynical and dark, even though you could view this as yet another beautiful ending for a meet cute. But this is them, you know, she keeps trying to do this, we'll start over, because she's trying to invent a new character.
Yeah.
She's trying to invent a new perspective of herself. She's trying to wipe the slate clean.
The film does leave you wondering about her mental state, because
we don't get much of her, because you're right. It becomes Robert Pattinson's kind of movie.
Because the choice to use a younger actress to play her in her high school days, when like Zendaya is very young looking, they could have used her.
No, but I think that's deliberate.
To separate her, because it's like it's a different person that Robert Pattinson doesn't know.
Exactly.
But Zendaya is the same person, though.
But that's why.
So I think it would have been more interesting to use Zendaya.
No, I disagree, because by using the other actress, and there's these brilliant moments like you've just hinted at, where suddenly he's with the 15-year-old, and he's walking around with the 15-year-old, and that's visually representing us, but like he has just discovered a new person, a new entirely different person.
I agree with that, but then it becomes
this new person?
more about him than more about her, if you know what I mean.
But again, I agree that's what it did, but I think that's deliberate, because
I know it's deliberate. I'm just saying I didn't like that.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, of course.
I wanted.
But
I left the film not knowing her still.
But can I say I liked that, because I think that is exactly how he feels, right? You're in his shoes. He's married a stranger. He's married a stranger. Yeah. Exactly right. We never really understand how or why. You never really get inside her head. And it's very troubling, and it's an uncomfortable place to be at.
When they show us the video where she was like, say, I can't remember one of her schoolmates, but she goes, you're going to be first. Like, she made this video, but there was even comedy when she was trying to make her video,
Windows
because
10, Windows whatever keeps
her
shutting
laptop
down.
was crashing, and like she blows her own ear out, which is why so the cute part of the meet cute was that like he was talking into her deaf ear.
Exactly.
And it was like, oh, so cute, she didn't hear you because she had a headphone in the other ear. But now it's like the reason she's deaf is because she set off a rifle and burst her own eardrum, and he's suddenly like, even his cute. And that's why I do think it was a bit like, ooh, manic pixie dream girl who's half deaf who I need to look after. I just think that like he had such a thin notion of her as well, like, you know, this beautiful artsy woman that he's met that he needs to protect. So there's loads going on here. The other scene we haven't really talked about is the wedding, but before we get to it, I literally just pulled up the BBFC while we were chatting, because I was saying, you know, this is where you go. There's a bit equivalent in the States. And it does, like, at a front level, it has warnings for violence, language, sex, drugs, sexual violence and injury. But then when you go into more info, the first thing is violence, and it says this. So they've buried that. You have to go to the next page because I guess it's part of a spoiler. But it says the film contains frequent verbal and visual reference to school shootings. So I just don't think the argument, if somebody is understandably traumatized by a school shooting or adjacent mass shooting, and then they go to this film and then the argument is I didn't see it coming, it's like, but the information, if you need trigger warnings before films, they're available. I don't know, I'd love to hear what our listeners think. I might sound really callous. I just don't think it's this filmmaker's responsibility. Like, this often happens with really serious issues. An artist who shines a light on something or speaks about it in a way that a victim doesn't like can get in an awful lot of trouble. But the problem lies with America and its gun legislation and and the predominant culture of the government amplifying the arms industry. The fault does not lie with this director. He's just shining a light on it.
Nobody's saying the fault lies with this director.
Like, people are coming for the film about it, and I'm just like, I just think that's completely misplaced.
Yeah, pick a better target.
This is not the person who owes you anything. This is a Norwegian film director. He owes you nothing.
But I don't think the responsibility even lies with the film director. I actually think the responsibility for this issue that is arising lies with the marketing of the film, perhaps. Like, because the film
but it's a
exists.
Twist, like they can't market it.
Well, that's what I mean. I'm like, I'm in favor of that. We've expressly said I admire it.
Yeah.
But if you are to the people who might be affected by, it's a surprise, right?
Yeah.
And the surprise has trauma associated with it. So that responsibility, I don't think that lies with the filmmaker. The filmmaker created a film.
Yeah.
It exists. It tackles a subject directly. How that is presented to the world before people see the film, I don't think is the filmmaker's responsibility.
Yeah, honestly, it's ripe for discussion. We can talk about it all day.
Yeah.
There's a little sequence before the wedding that is like worth mentioning where he's outside and the friend's cousin, who is a victim of gun shooting, is there in her wheelchair, and Robert Pattinson acts like a crazy lunatic around her.
Yeah.
That scene was very dark humour, I thought. There's another little scene in his office where he starts crying, and he's very funny crying in this film. He cries with great humour. He's crying in his office and his colleague is there and she kind of tries to comfort him and they end up kind of making out and like almost having sex. And then that becomes the catalyst for the wedding.
But sorry, can I...
That was just all so fun. I was laughing through that whole scene in his office was just so funny.
I thought that was interesting, and there's another moment right before that where he starts. Do you know it's very small, but I don't know where it was, but there was quite a beautiful woman, and for a moment it lingers on her. It was in like the photography studio or something.
I loved the photography studio
and
scene as
that
well.
was brilliant.
So funny.
She was so funny. But there's a moment where like it implies that Robert Pattinson like stares a little bit too long at a beautiful woman after all this has happened. Like he's suddenly looking for somebody else.
Oh God, he wants his
Like, and I feel like
partner.
that's why he's suddenly in this moment of panic and fear and sadness. He just leaped at his colleague because he's somebody who he wants to find that manic pixie. He wants to go back to his fantasy of a woman that he can project these things onto. But he also
just wants comfort in that moment. I think it's probably quite like animalistic. But then all this tension, like talk about the tension of the original like confession scene. The sequence, so the wedding they just show us them at the altar and then it's the dinner and it's just building up to the speeches, and this director is masterful at tension. Like this is like Hitchcock level tension at this wedding. Like
you've so many ticking time
bombs.
You've
got the maid of honor who nearly didn't want to come, who's glowering at her, who's the one whose cousin is the gunshot victim. Then you've got
his work colleague and her boyfriend,
Blake. And the boyfriend.
Yeah.
And then you've got Robert Pattinson's speech, which he's now deleted all of because he's tied himself up in knots completely. And all of this, like, build up, like, when the maid of honor gets up and makes her speech, it's so horrible. Like, she says, like, I always wondered, I've only known you for 2 years, so when you asked me to be your maid of honor, I thought, don't you have any real friends?
I had been thinking as soon as I figured out the dynamics.
Yeah, because I realised the two lads were best friends.
Yeah.
And then she was married to his best friend. So it was a bit odd that she was your one's maid of honor, given they've only known each other for 2 years. So it definitely, it hints at the fact that she really doesn't have any other friends. But she said it in such a nasty way. She was a great character because I hated her and I also loved her because she was so good. So she did that, which was horrible. And then her dad gets up and gives this big speech about how his daughter was like a gun rights activist and how his gun went missing when she was a teenager.
Even the small things. And then Robert Pattinson leans over to him and he's like, how accessible were your guns out of interest?
And then Robert Pattinson gets up to do his speech and he's just... Zendaya runs off then, and then Robert Pattinson chases her into the room.
You don't have to go through blow by blow.
I'm not going through blow by blow. But they just have a big fight where it's revealed that he cheated on her with his co-worker. Then they go,
but this
Misha,
is
was her name Misha? This was when it was like Curb Your Enthusiasm.
This is sitcom Curb Your Enthusiasm level stuff.
Then he goes back to do the speech, and then his speech is terrible. He's forgotten. He makes it really
Sorry, don't skip over the speech. The speech was brilliant.
He goes, our sex is really good.
But this is masterful setup and payoff kind of stuff. Because this was recalling scene 1 where he's writing the speech with the best friend.
And he's so in love with her.
And he's so in love with her, and he's saying these beautiful things. And then there's these little moments like they're self-editing it. It's like, I really want to talk about the sex. And he's like, you can't talk about the sex. But in the panic... Later, he starts recalling all these things, but they're all wrong because he's stressed and
like,
it's awful.
We met in a cafe
and he's like,
shop.
Oh, but the sex is great.
And then he said something like, does he say, I didn't even mean what happened with Misha? Misha of all people.
No.
And then, I think it was Misha. Then her boyfriend gets up and like headbutts him, so he's covered in blood. But this is kind of all being done in flashbacks. Honestly, I couldn't believe this scene. It was so good, like this wedding scene. I feel like this guy should write a play, because imagine just sitting in a theatre and watching these excruciating scenes happening in front of you on stage. It would be so wonderful. And then so at the very end then they kind of have a new meet cute in the diner that they had said maybe we'll go to this diner on our wedding night and get a burger. I think it was a very interesting choice, because on the face of it it's quite romantic and sweet.
I think it's dark.
And then it's really dark and
I think
really
this is
cynical.
dark.
Yeah.
This is like we are both deluding ourselves and we're both going to pretend that we're different people. And we're going to live in a fantasy because we cannot confront the reality of who we are and what we've done.
Imagine being a guest at that wedding.
Oh, it would be amazing.
So she's obviously the maid of honor, and her are never going to speak again. Your man's his best friend, so like they will stay friends, but like eventually they'll have to drift away because their girlfriends are so toxic.
Their lives are blown up.
He's been physically assaulted at his own wedding. Her parents sat there while he admitted cheating on her and talked about their sex life. It was just it was so deluded at the end. But I just had I honestly thought the ending was really good. Like I really enjoyed it.
I'll be honest.
There was a moment of sweetness in it, but it was so cynical.
I'll be honest. I did feel around that whole ending, which I did very much enjoy. But and it was masterfully done as everything we've just said, from a build-up, payoff, tension, sitcom style stuff all coming together. But it did really lean into the farce, and it got more and more farcical. And part of me felt a little disappointed that we maybe moved away from some more serious, dramatic.
They definitely dropped the ball, I think, on I think he was treating the subject as an intrigue point for a what if, and he wasn't treating the subject of gun shooting or mass violence or school shootings with any depth.
That's exactly right. And that's what I was trying to hint at earlier. This movie's not about school shootings or America's relationship to them. It scratches at a few things and kind of touches on a few nerves.
It's like a curiosity to a European film director.
But exactly right. Yeah. No, it's not interested in that. It's interested in these two people and what happens. It's a scenario.
Yeah.
What happens if you threw this bomb into this relationship and you watch that unfold? And it is, I think, incredibly interesting.
And I think that's the lens the film needs to be looked at. This ain't Bowling for Columbine. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
One thing that this film was really giving me, and it's a film I haven't seen in years but I've always loved, was So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Oh,
Do you remember that whole film? The more and more he thinks he's marrying the axe murderer.
You're right.
And remember, she always played Only You at the wedding.
Yeah.
And when the wedding song comes on and it's Only You, and Mike Myers is like, ah! I really need to rewatch that film because I actually can't remember the end. But this felt like, I would say they would make great bedfellows, these two films.
That's a great call. It's very similar. Yeah.
Just-
in
it's
terms,
just the
in,
vibe
in
and
terms
the
of the
tension.
you know perceiving someone one way and then thinking they're the exact
They're a
opposite.
murderer.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for listening. Come over to patreon.com/The Cinemile or Apple Podcast subscriptions to hear all of our TV recaps. We're currently chatting about Paradise Season 2 and For All Mankind. And we have over 80 retro movie reviews.
Yeah, and there's a vote about to go up on our Patreon page, patreon.com/The Cinemile for female-led movies is the theme this
It has
month.
to be both directed by a woman and starring a woman. Doesn't
And
have to
written
be
by
the-
a woman.
And written by a woman.
Yeah,
Doesn't
Cara
have to be the same
Matthews,
woman.
one of our patrons, picked
Yeah.
all three. It's like
So
really
far, I
good.
think Jennifer's Body is coming up hot in terms of preferences.
Most commonly suggested,
Yeah.
but we will pick 6 for a shortlist, and our patrons get to vote on what we're all going to watch in our Retro Movie Club. Patreon.com/The Cinemile, or you can email us thecinemile@gmail.com. Thank you for listening, and of course, either next week or last week was our 400th episode. This episode you're listening to is either 399 or 401,
Exactly.
depending on
Yeah.
what wins the poll
Yeah.
and whether you want Super Mario or the drama first.
I hope people want the drama first. Anyway, talk to you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
That's some drama. It's very funny.